it's Katie from Romance Gardens. It is a busy day here at the greenhouse, but I really wanted to take a minute to just talk to you about some ways that we like to zhuzh up our poinsettias. Here at Romance Gardens, we grow all of our poinsettias. We do them in multiple sizes, multiple colors. You can see here, this is one of my favorites. It's called Jingle Bell. Jingle Bell is actually a neat mix. It's kind of almost speckled. And again, this is one of our 6.5-inch pots. These are super fun. I love poinsettias. You know, you do have some issues with care, and I want to go through a couple of those things. The main thing with a poinsettia is make sure that it's not sitting in water. Poinsettias hate to have wet feet. In fact, the easiest way for me to explain what poinsettias like is to tell you that they hate extremes. They hate to be extremely cold. Please don't bring them outside without a cover if it's below 50 degrees. They hate to be extremely hot, so you don't want to put it right next to a fireplace or right in front of a heater or something like that. These are just a classic plant. It's somewhat of a tropical plant, so you just want to keep them evenly watered and make sure that they're draining. I will usually tell by the weight of the pot if it's well watered or if it feels kind of light, if it needs a good drink, or I will simply put my finger down the side and I'll run it up to about mid to upper knuckle, and then if I still feel moisture in that period of my finger, I want to make sure that I don't water them yet. So that should start to feel dry to the touch before you give them a drink. And then I usually give them a nice drink. If you put them in one of the foil covers, you want to make sure that you put a little slit in the bottom to ensure that the poinsettia can drain into a saucer and not store a lot of water. One of the things that I love to do with poinsettias is this time of year we're just filled with all sorts of fresh greens. Here I've got some fresh Douglas fir from Michigan. I've got some nice what is it called? Oh yeah, boxwood. And then we also have the beautiful Fraser fir. This is actually a North Carolina Fraser fir that's really full, and super fragrant. And one of the things I like to do is I get myself a really good pruners, and I'm gonna go ahead and start cutting some nice branches. Now, I like to just make a little section that can go into the soil. So I just use my fingers, almost like you're getting thyme off of an herb string. You're just gonna go ahead and back pull those and get those on there. And then I like to make sure that it has a nice little angled cut. Now the reason I'm cutting the greens is because I'd like them to still be able to pull some moisture up from the pot. You can kind of play with them a little bit to get them kind of pliable for you. And then I'm gonna take them and I'm just going to start slowly sticking them kind of straight down in the pot. And I'm gonna go through and basically do a lot of different textures. So I'm going to keep cutting my Fraser to start with, and I want these to kind of go in some this way, so I see the dark green, and some this way, so that I get a little bit of that bluey green. And again, we're just gonna kind of keep pulling those in. So I'm gonna take the Fraser fir, and I'm gonna go ahead, and I'm gonna do 3 or 4 of those right around the edge of the pot. And I'm just gonna kind of keep turning and placing the greens in there. And again, I just like to slide the excess off the end so it goes nice and smooth right into the greenery. And I'm just going to keep tipping them and turning them until I make it kind of all the way around the pot and getting that nice little bit of Fraser in there. Oh, it smells so good. I wish you guys could smell it. This is where all those people on the cooking shows say we wish we had smell-o-vision. I think I agree. So I'm going through and I'm looking for just medium-sized branches. So I'm gonna add one more little Fraser fir in there, just to make sure that as I turn, I kind of have an even amount of Fraser. And you can see how it's kind of filling it out. Then I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna start with a little Douglas fir. Now what I love about Douglas is that it's really fluffy and it's very pliable. So what I love to do is just kind of bend it, and when I stick it in, I kind of allow it to fluff out so that I'm gonna have all different textures and all different colors of greenery. And in fact, I'm even gonna take one that's a little bit taller, and don't worry, we're gonna use all these little scraps to fill it in, but I'm gonna take one that's a little bit taller. And when you do this, be very careful. Poinsettias are somewhat fragile, but what I like to do is just kind of split those out and just kind of find a nice center of the pot. And that's just to get a little of the greenery kind of coming up the top. So I'll probably end up doing 2 nice tall ones that I can sort of make sure the plant has a little fluff in the top. And then I'm gonna continue around with some of the smaller pieces. And by doing that, we're just going to get it so that you don't really see much of the dirt of the pot. You're actually going to be looking at all this nice greenery. And the best part about this is when you go to water the poinsettia, it's actually going to help keep the greens a little bit more moistened too. I do suggest if you're in a really warm spot where it seems to be running kind of dry, I would mist the greens when you water the poinsettia. Or if you're like me, I'll take it to the sink, water the poinsettia, and just kind of try and mist a little at the same time. But again, my main goal here is to get all different angles of fresh greenery and to give it just that little bit of texture. And then I'm going to go in with a little bit of the boxwood, which boxwood is fun because as it dries, it tends to keep its color. It gets a little crispy as it dries, but it definitely tends to keep this brighter green. And so sometimes I can add a little of that in there. And again, our main goal here, we're going for texture. We just want to kind of hide the soil and give the plant its own little Christmas. So you can do as little or a lot as you want. And every once in a while, I'll put one in that I'm like, hey, that one looks kind of dumb. I'm going to take it out. So don't be afraid to do that too, because you know what? This is creating, and we're all just trying to make it as fun as possible. So once I have enough greenery in there, then this is something where you can put it into a pretty pot. We can actually put it into a really pretty little pot cover. And this is what I was talking about earlier. If you do use these shiny covers, make sure you put a slit in the bottom and put a saucer down so that it can drain for you. Another thing I like to do is find just fun little ornaments that I have around the house. You can usually find sticks at the craft store, and so I'll usually just put a few little sticks on them, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and sort of nestle those in between the greens. And you can find gold and you can find red in all different sizes. And I usually just like to make sure I have those in there. Another one of my tricks is when you go to a lot of the places, you'll find different fun guys like this. I love this one. This is actually a magnolia leaf. But sometimes what I like to do is I don't want that whole big spray in my pot. So once again, I will grab a nice little stick or a wire. You could even use some of your old branches if you wanted to cut a few of the branches if you can't find any sticks. And just go ahead and wire this on there. And I want to play with the leaf a little bit. And then you can even add in little bits of color just like that, which is going to help you just add a little bit of fun to your poinsettia so it has just a little bit more flair for the holidays. We can do this with any of our colors. We've got these beautiful pink. We can do it with white. The main key with this is clip your ends and try and not put it into the center of the root. Try and slide it a little bit more down the edges of the pot where you've got excess soil. But I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you enjoyed this video, check out this one.